What if I told you that there are a group of people who are keeping most of the population in lack, even though it is our birthright to have abundance? And in fact, it's not really that difficult to access abundance when you know how, but this information, this knowledge, this wisdom has been suppressed. Well, that's what we're going to be going over in this video today. I'm going to be going over why it is that this information has been suppressed and also how you can access it so that you can allow abundance to start flowing into your life more and more. That's coming up next. Now, before we jump into it, my name is Dave and this is HeartSpace if you are new to the channel, where I'm creating typically videos every single day. We had a bit of a break as I was moving. Now we're back into it, and I'm creating these videos to help you along your heart path, helping you really live more of a life from your heart space in everything that you do. And we, again, create these videos every single day to help you do so. Now, one thing that's going to really help you immediately, besides this video, is to download my free course that will help invite miracles into your life, sometimes in as little as 3 days. You can get that down below. Now, in this video, I want to talk about something that can be a bit controversial, but I think is very important to have awareness about. And it's also important that when you bring this into your awareness, that you don't use it as a reason to justify victimizing yourself or others. That's not what the point of this is. The point of this is to simply bring about awareness so that you know that this kind of thing is going on, so that you can take measures and actions so you don't fall into this agenda, so you don't fall into the conditioning that has been propagated on so many different people and probably yourself for a certain amount of time. For myself, for example, I was under this conditioning for most of my life until I quote unquote woke up. And so that is the intention behind this video, to be something that can give you the awareness so you can choose differently and not get hooked into this. So let's go over it coming up right now. So going back to what I initially said, abundance is essentially your birthright. You actually come from abundance. You come from the infinite abundance that is the universe, is source, is divinity, and you are a divine, infinite, co-creative being that is not only a part of that, but is always connected to that, that is that actually in just 3D form. But when we come into this world, there are beings already here that it serves them, not in a high conscious way, but in their own way, I suppose, and to condition those coming in through their programmable subconscious minds and the minds and kind of the physical thing that we are, to program them into believing that they are into lack. If you were never programmed, if you didn't go through the conditioning that you have gone through since basically a child, learning about different things like abundance, learning about the physical world, the things we're taught in school, the things our parents teach us, only because they were taught those same things from school and from their own parents, if you were never taught those things, you would automatically be able to connect to abundance, love, and joy, and so many of these other things that we're told and conditioned to believe are very scarce. Because it's not just abundance that we're taught to believe is scarce, it's also love. How many people do you observe in everyday life kind of doing 1,000,001 things trying to get love? Or doing it because they think it'll make them liked? Or doing it so other people will pay attention to them? This only comes from a conditioned belief system that so many of us, again, have been brainwashed into, that tells us that we don't already have those things, that we're already not loved, so we have to go out and get it. We're not abundant, so we have to go out and get it. And so many of these other things, but it's especially included in abundance. And so ultimately we come into this world and we're taught that there's only basically a physical world that is the main paradigm, and that it's very much about survival. Like, if you don't do this, you're gonna die. If you don't do this, you're gonna die. It's all about survival and nothing else. And when you're conditioned into this level of thinking, you don't really have the energy and time to connect to the heart, because now you're in basically the biological mind, or kind of the instinctual mind that's only worried about survival. Basically the fight or flight response. Now, the fight or flight response is there for a reason, and it's incredibly effective. But it was only meant to be activated about 1% of your living existence. In fact, I would say much less. If you're living a fight or flight existence where 90% of the time you have that activated, it's very detrimental to the body, because the way the fight or flight response works is it uses all the resources of your body, all the energy in that moment, to allocate energy to your muscles and other things that are going to help you escape or fight or do whatever in order to survive. Now, that's great if you actually turn the corner and there's a tiger. You need that extra energy to maybe run away or fight it off, if you can do that. I mean, that's amazing if you can. But the issue with that is, how many times do you turn around a corner and see a tiger? No, instead today it's you look at your bank statement and you hit or fight or flight. Or you have to go talk to someone you don't want to talk to, fight or flight. Or you have to go to work and you don't enjoy your job, fight or flight. And the fight and flight response is very stressful and really takes a toll on the body. Now, that's getting a little off course, but essentially we're taught to really be in this survival mode. And when you're in this survival mode, it's very hard to connect to all that you are. Because if I tell you all that you are is infinite, it's divine, it's abundant, it's love, it's joy, it's a completely different experience than that which we have been conditioned into. Now, why is it we have been conditioned into this? Because it could be, well, what's the point of conditioning humanity into these fight or flight responses most of the time, or conditioning them into believing that it's all about survival, it's all about fight or flight, it's all about, maybe competition, whatever else it is. What's the point of that? And it's very, very simple. It's actually insanely simple. Now, it's obviously more nuanced in how it all branches out, but at the end of the day, it's very simple. It's very easy to control people who are in the fight or flight response. You're not thinking for yourself. You will essentially follow and believe anyone who says they will take you to safety if you're in that fight or flight response. You only need to look at certain governments who will do certain things to stir up fear within people and then offer government programs. Big savior, big brother, big daddy government will come and save the day for a problem that they most likely created, whether they did that overtly or secretively. And so that is why we've been conditioned into that. That is why there are powerful groups of people that really benefit by you being asleep, by you not knowing that abundance is your birthright. Because if you knew your abundance was your birthright, you went out, connected to abundance, and started drawing that to you, this group of people believe there would be less for them. And they also know that they wouldn't be able to control people. Again, these are not benevolent beings. Even though they probably believe what they're doing is a good thing, they're not benevolent. And that's a whole different story and a whole different rabbit hole to go down, which is not the point of this, because this is mainly just for awareness. And so the point of this is to understand that there are people who benefit and really do not want you to have abundance, even though it's not that difficult for you to have it. It all really comes down to being able to connect to that, to understand what your birthright is, to understand what it is you actually are. And the more you start connecting to that, the more easily and effortlessly you start to attract things like abundance, like love, like gratitude, like peace and joy. Why? Because that is intricately connected to what it is you actually are. There is a very small but powerful group of people or beings, whatever you want to call them, that really do benefit from keeping you in a low conscious energy, to keeping you in lack, to keeping you in places where you'll never be able to discover what you truly are, because what you truly are exists at higher levels of consciousness. But when you access that, when you access the freedom of what you are, the abundance, the joy, the peace, whatever it is else you want to call it, the awakening, you can't be controlled. You can't have someone tell you you need X, Y, or Z to be happy. You can't have someone tell you it's all about survival because you know better. You can't have someone really tell you all these lies because you're able to see through them because you're connected to truth. And so really in conclusion, understand that abundance is your birthright. So is love, joy, peace, gratitude, but you have to connect to it. You have to start connecting to that which you actually are. Again, please don't use this information, if you take this on board, to really cast judgment or cast vitriol or poison or whatever else towards the group of people who have been aiming to control humanity for a very long time now. I don't say that for their sake, I say that for your sake, because trying to curse someone else or trying to bring someone else down is like taking a vial of poison and drinking it yourself. Remember, we are all one at the end of the day, even though it's expressed in many different ways. And the way to really combat this, the way to really be able to reverse this and to have it so that the people who try and do that really can't win out, is to express more love, joy, abundance, peace, and gratitude in your own life. To connect more to what you truly are, because the more of us that are doing that, the more powerful that becomes in the collective. And the more powerful that becomes in the collective, the less the collective can be controlled, which you might even be noticing in the world as we are moving forward today. And so again, my invitation for you is not to use any kind of information you find about certain groups or certain organizations or governments in a way to really hate these people or to wish them ill or whatever else. Definitely set boundaries against them. Don't be controlled by them and don't let them, really cross those boundaries of yours. But instead to focus on filling up your own cup in the sense of your energy and your consciousness, because that's what's going to emanate outwards. That's what's going to influence people and invite people in a positive way in order to wake up, understand their birthright, understand where they come from more and more. So now that you are a little more aware that there are groups of people like this, that this has actually been a deliberate conditioned thing to keep us away from what we truly are, I would go over this video next, because then I'm going to give you some actual things that are going to help you shift into abundance easily, because I really believe this is easy because it's actually connected to what you truly are. It's just an awareness thing, and then putting these things into practice, and you'll start seeing abundance flow into your life in a physical way as well, not only an energetic way.